But that's just one guy. That's just one guy. And so putting these numbers together, I found myself struggling to find 10 players that were really important to the Bad Boys. They really only used a 7.5-man rotation. When I went to these going to work, as I like to refer them to.
That's a nice name. Did you make that up?
I didn't. I stole that. That's off of badboys.com. That's off of the Pistons website.
Okay. That's acceptable then. The going to work.
Yeah. Those Pistons had huge contributions off the bench, or considerable throughout the season. So Corliss Williamson, who a lot of people might not remember, he averaged 10 points a game, 9.6. Memo averaged 9.5. And even Eldon Campbell came in with 5.6 and 3 boards in under 10 minutes of game time.
Mr. I don't want to assert myself.
Exactly.
Right.
And so, and a guy that I had initially left off of this study, who I had to put on there once I actually looked at it, was Mike James.
I left him off. I didn't mention him earlier.
Mike James was on that 03-04 squad, and he
not to be confused with Mike Jones.
Exactly. Who?
Mike Jones.
Right. So Mike James came in there and was basically splitting time with Lindsey Hunter as a backup point guard, and averaged 6.3 a game, 36% from the three, and was the third leading assist giver in that stretch. So I just think that it would have been a war of attrition, and it really would have came down to probably the last couple of plays, last quarter at least, between these two teams. And it's debatable. I mean, that's the fun of this conversation. We'll never really know. I guess that on this year's 2K, NBA 2K,
I did see that.
Right. Both of these Pistons will be available as Legends teams. And so I'm sure there'll be some form of a simulation that'll come and kind of try to put this whole thing to bed as best it can. But yeah, for the points of this show, I'm going to ride with those going to work Pistons, even though I love the Bad Boys. I'm just gonna ride with my guys because I grew up with these guys. Chauncey, I'm 31 years old. I watched Chauncey travel from team to team and become Mr. Big Shot. I watched Rip run off of screens and make himself a valuable two guard.
I will say that that's one thing that I think helps in this situation is that your shooting guard, Rip Hamilton, was a intermediate scorer versus being 3-point based, and I think that helps with the continuity of the scoring, where we see teams go into long stretches of inefficiency and not scoring. And I feel like Rip Hamilton constantly gives you that 17, 18 foot game. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
he was a 6'7", 6'8" guy. Like I said, I'm just going with the Pistons over with the grit.
Yeah, and I mean, we got to factor that into style of play. Like,
right,
the Bad Boys were beating people up.
They made that decision after, I believe it was 85, when they lost to the Atlanta Hawks. They said, look, we're not going to beat teams with athleticism. We need to out-physical teams, and that's what they subscribed to. That's what they employed. And I just feel like at the end of the day, it's great that the Pistons were able to win in these two different eras and to be successful. But I will say is once the going to work Pistons, once they encountered the elites, such as once LeBron got it rolling in 2008, they didn't do well. They didn't do well at all.
Yeah. And look, I personally equate that to Flip Saunders. Okay.
And Rasheed, he pulled a cord on the parachute.
Yeah, and I've got some numbers on coaching. We won't get into all that. Chuck Daly versus Larry Brown. We don't have time to really open up that can. Both of them coached in the ABA and had some form of success.
Right.
Both of them coached in the NBA and had a championship. Chuck had two. At at the end of the day, I really feel like Chuck Daly was probably a better coach. I think he understood people better. I think he got more out of his players. Larry Brown was a bit abrasive and made you play the styles that you didn't think you wanted to.
Now, my last point, and you can finish this out, man. We had two hours now.
Gotta wrap it up.
Yeah, we gotta wrap it up. That's this Bell's Too Hearted. The one thing that I will say, as the going to work Pistons made their way through the playoffs, there weren't a lot of Hall of Famers in here, other than Ray Allen might be one in 2004 on Milwaukee. Reggie Miller was there for 2004, 2005, and for Indiana. They just didn't play a lot of. And then they did beat the ultimate Hall of Fame team in 2004. But the Bad Boys took down the Celtics, who had 3 or 4 Hall of Famers, and Michael Jordan, and the Showtime. And they held the Showtime Lakers to below 90 points.
We won't talk about Magic hurting himself in that final series and basically being out after 2 games, but that's fine.
All right, so moving on, man. That's my decision. You know, G, you roll with the going to work Pistons.
Yeah,
that's a great thing. I'm glad they came back from that teal burgundy
those jerseys, whatever the Grant Hill era.
Yeah, whatever that era was. I don't think we solved anything here definitively.
It's all Pistons.
Yeah, it's all Pistons. Like I said, we trying to find some things for you to talk about in basketball on the eve of the NFL season. Right. Hey, man, you got any last comments for this Hoops and Hops?
No, man. I thank you for having me per usual, and it's been I think it's been a great show, man. Good conversation and knowledge. Right.
And I will say, I just realized, after having 3 years with the Bulls in 1991, the Pistons were summarily swept by the Chicago Bulls in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah. That doesn't look good.
We didn't talk about you guys walking off the court.
Well, hey, on that note, we out of here. Hey, man, thanks for pressing play. Peace.
Hoops and Hops.
Hoops and Hops. Exhale.